Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all sorts of good stuff. I'm joined in the house today by Robert Meyer Burnett. Back there, of course, is Ray Ora. A little bit of a switcheroo. Jonathan Boyko sitting in the back while Taylor Gonzalez is sitting at the controls there today. And, of course, the delightful Chris Carr. And most importantly, you guys are here joining us. We're so glad that you are. We got a lot of stuff we're talking about here today. We're talking about Game of Thrones not coming until summer of 2024. The Pope's Exorcist, new trailer is dropped. James Cameron talks about the chances there being an Avatar Disney Plus spinoff series. It's not good. What is the future of Mindhunter? David Fincher gives us some insight on that. We're going to talk about Cocaine Bear, Season 4 of The Mandalorian, Aquaman 2 words coming out, and a whole bunch more. And we are so glad that you are here to join this with us. So, guys, here's what today's show is going to do. We're going to go over all these main topics. Then later in the show, if you are one of our beloved channel members, and thank you for being one of our channel members, we're going to take questions from you, our channel members, in the second half of the show. We're going to be putting up a post in the community tab for just our channel members. Leave a comment in there as a question, and we will get through as many of those as we possibly can. All right, guys. That all down, let's get things kicked off here with our first topic, and that is this. You know, I had a lot of faith in a new Game of Thrones series that was coming out. A lot of people, boo-hoo. We didn't like the last season of Game of Thrones. It's going to suck now. But no. House of Dragon came out and it ruled. And by the way, I know many friends of mine who didn't like the last season or two of Game of Thrones. That's perfectly fine. I did. I thought it was awesome. But regardless, House of the Dragon comes out. Now, I was 100% hoping, fingers crossed, my most anticipated show of last year was Lord of the Rings. That's the one I was looking forward to the most. So I really would have thought that would have been my favorite show that year. But House of the Dragon exceeded it a lot. That show was phenomenal right from the first episode all the way to the end. It never took its foot off the pedal. It was just remarkable television from the word go. Awesome. So when are we getting season 2? Well, don't hold your breath, because we are now getting word from the boss over at HBO that it doesn't look like we're going to get season 2 of House of the Dragon until summer of 2024. Now, we were already kind of a little bit prepped that, we weren't going to get season 2 this year, which I still think is bull. In the olden days, shows had 24 episodes a season. They still put out a new season every year. But yeah, whatever. They do these things a little bit differently now. But they're saying 2024, summer of 2024, is when we can expect House of the Dragon season 2, which is a long-ass time away. But, when it comes down to it, for the people at HBO, there is a reason that, Velma notwithstanding, there is a reason that HBO is the absolute gold standard when it comes to quality television. And that is, they will only put something out when they feel like it's absolutely ready. Now, of course, they're going to swing and miss sometimes. Everybody does. But they swing and miss a lot less than almost everybody else does. And as a matter of fact, the head of HBO, Bloys, I should say. I always say Boyles, but it's Bloys. He came out and talked about developing this show, getting it ready for a second season, and the possibility of more Game of Thrones shows. He said this. So we go over to my screen for a second. He said this. My philosophy is a good script is number one priority, he says. I am not doing it based on wanting to have 1 a year, 2 a year. I want to do based on the scripts that we are excited about. But would the eventual plan be to have a steady stream of Thrones series to avoid these gaps? Remember, he says, to get House of the Dragon, I love this story, listen to this. To get House of the Dragon, following up Game of Thrones, we developed a lot of shows, shot a pilot, developed a bunch of scripts, and we got House of the Dragon. Bloys notes, to do that again is going to take the same amount of effort. You have to develop a lot of things, try things. You never know what's going to work. So we're currently doing that. I'm not opposed to any number of shows. There's probably a natural limit to how many Game of Thrones shows that the fans want, but I'm open to any as long as we feel really good about the scripts and the prospects for a series. So basically what the head of HBO is saying, hey, listen, to get, don't forget, with House of the Dragon, it wasn't just, hey, let's write a script. Okay, it's good. Let's make it. They developed multiple scripts, shot, well publicized and famous example. They actually shot a pilot for another Game of Thrones show and then said, not good enough. They pulled the plug on it. And then they moved on to something else. So they say every time we're going to put out a new show, particularly if it's in the world of Game of Thrones, we're going to have to go through that whole process. We are not going to cut corners on this. And Rob, I know for you, the supremacy of the script is the most important thing to you. What do you think about these comments and the fact that we're going to have to wait till 24? Send Rob your supremacy scripts. He's waiting for it.
I mean, this is exactly what you want a network boss to say, because the script is where it all begins. It's the blueprint, it's the foundation of whatever it is that you're building. And it sets the tone. It tells you who you're going to cast, all those things. And, you know, the source material, unlike Game of Thrones, was more of a historical account as opposed to being novelized. So they really had to flesh a lot of stuff out. There wasn't, it's kind of like what the same dilemma in a way that Rings of Power faced, in that it was going back to the Second Age, where there was historical accounts, but not fleshed out characters. So they had to do a lot of that heavy lifting in the scripts. And with House of the Dragon, they really did a great job.
Tremendous job.
I mean, and that's true of anything. You can't, look, you can't make a great movie out of a bad script. You can make a bad movie out of a great script.
Yes, you can.
And I think that hearing him say this is exactly the fact that he says, look, if we have to go through the same process, he's saying, if we have to shoot a pilot that we don't like and not put it out, if that's what we have to do to get to the greatness that is House of the Dragon, we'll do it. I mean, I don't know if they want to spend that much money on something that doesn't continue on, but I mean, hearing that is exactly what you want to hear from an executive, because that's why HBO is HBO.
Yeah, and who was this? Because they spent the technical term in the business is shit ton. They spent a shit ton of money on making that one. And who was the star of Mulholland Drive?
Naomi Watts.
It was Naomi Watts. This for those of you who don't know, they actually fully wrote, developed, and then built sets, costumes, and shot the pilot episode for another Game of Thrones show starring Naomi Watts. And then they looked at it, and the quality control there is crazy. They just went, you know what? Yeah, we spent a lot of money, but this isn't good enough. This isn't what we're going for. And they pulled the plug. I don't want to bring it up again, but it's not terribly unlike what Warner Brothers did with the Batgirl movie. It was just like, you know what? We made it. We spent a lot of money on it, but it's not good enough. We can't put it out.
And you know what's interesting about it was, I don't believe it was based on, I mean, they might have taken some things from George R. R. Martin's books, but it wasn't something he had really examined. It was like 1,000 years before Game of Thrones. So
the Naomi Watts one.
Yeah, the Naomi Watts. So this pilot was kind of made up. And no wonder it didn't work. You know, you bring, the co-creators of the show for House of the Dragon, one of the co-creators is George R. R. Martin. So they brought him back to co-create the show as opposed to just being an executive producer. So that's part of the reason I think it's as good as it is.
Anyway, Chris, you read this. It seems like they put a lot of time, money just into R&D, their stuff, which will leave some fans like me a little bit frustrated that we're not going to get a second season until mid-2024. Yeah. So we're a year and a half away from that. But, I mean, the quality that we get out of HBO, what stands out to you in this article?
It's phenomenal. We were talking before the show started about this really great line in here about how we all know there's this arms race, basically, when it comes to putting out media these days. And a lot of times quality is lacking because you're trying to just one up the other person and get things out quickly. You also see this with people breaking news, right? You can do something fast or you can do something well. And so I think that's what HBO wants to do here. They want to do something very, very well done. It's Succession with dragons. And, you know, even though we have in the past had people make pilots, get rid of them, that's old hat in Hollywood. Any actor will tell you, oh my gosh, I was the lead in a pilot that never saw the light of day. But HBO obviously is using HBO money to make these things.
Yeah.
So they're putting in millions of dollars to see if something works. And so for a second season of this show, it's going to be a big investment. They want to make sure that that investment is worthwhile. And I think it's good.
Because the standard pilot of a sitcom where you have a living room set, a kitchen set, and the bedroom set.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's a little soundstage. doing a pilot for a Game of Thrones show is a whole nother. We're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars they had to pour into that.
Yeah, and it used to be that, like, I worked in the mid '90s for an advertising agency that worked for networks, and when all the pilots would come out that all the networks made, we would get the tapes, so you could watch all the pilot shows to see. Now they don't do that. Now everything's in portals, and now it's all online, and you have to really know somebody because there's going to be I would love to see that pilot.
Oh God, so would I.
And
I would love to
normally,
see it.
you can go like watch John Woo's Lost in Space pilot that he did and buy it at a convention. But nowadays, because everything's locked up on servers and stuff, but somebody has it.
Somebody has it. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The quality control on the HBO stuff is crazy, and the Game of Thrones is just an example of that. But, I mean, one of the consequences is not only do they spend a lot of money, we got to wait till the summer of 2024 for season 2 of House of the Dragon. How do you guys feel about that? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comments section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, with that down, let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? That one is this. It's not a secret, like my favorite actor is Russell Crowe. I mean, the greatest actor of all time is Daniel Day-Lewis, but I got a soft spot for Russell Crowe, man. He is my favorite actor. I remember I really first took notice of him, and what was it called? Wasn't The Insider, was it?
Yeah, it was the Michael Mann movie.
Right, that he did with Al Pacino. And not a lot of people knew Russell Crowe at that time. But when you're in a movie with Al Pacino and you upstage Al Pacino, that was the movie for me. I was like, who is this Russell Crowe guy? And then, of course, Gladiator. One of my most underrated favorite films ever is Mystery Alaska. I love that. It's a hockey movie. With Russell Crowe. Love that thing. I just think this dude kills it. Doesn't always appear in the best stuff, but I love him. Anyway, they've got a new trailer came out of his, and it's simply called The Pope's Exorcist. And I remember we talked about this briefly like 6 months ago, hearing a production wrap, whatever, but I had totally forgotten about this movie. 100% honesty, I totally forgot about this movie. This trailer came out, and I'm like, ho hum, another exorcism movie. Like, seriously, in the past 5 years, we've had like more than a handful of these things. I guess it's kind of like a zombie flick there. It's an easy horror kind of thing to do. So I'm like, another exorcism movie. It's going to be the same thing, even though it's got Russell Crowe in it. I loved the trailer. I loved this trailer because unlike a lot of the other exorcism movies, this seems to have like a different level to it, right? There's a mystery involved in there. There's a history to it. There's a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking? Da Vinci Code almost kind of feel to it a bit. And of course, you got Russell Crowe in it. And like when that kid says, "Bring me the priest," I'm like, all right, yeah, I legitimately find this creepy. This looks pretty good. I'm kind of excited to see it. Chris, I don't know if Wild Horses will keep you away from this movie. On a scale of 10 to 11, how excited are you to see The Pope's Exorcist?
Why are this child's eyes a portal to Mordor? Why? No, thank you. No, thank you very much. Too spooky. No, thank you. I was raised Catholic, so all things about exorcism scare me the fuck out. And also, when you sent this story this morning too, I couldn't get over. I kept reading the sentence, "The Pope's Exorcist movie." I was like, the Pope, what is Pope Francis doing? Why is he doing this? This is a big no for me, but I know that Rob is very excited about it, and Taylor is too. It looks great. The imagery in it looks really cool. That bloody wing moment is really rad, but it's not my cup of tea.
Rob, what did you think about the trailer for The Pope's Exorcist?
This is just catnip for me, man. I mean, The Exorcist is my favorite horror movie of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time. And my favorite fictional villain in any incarnation is Satan. Give me satanic cults. Give me devil-worshipping nuns. Give me whatever. I don't care who it is. Lucifer in Sandman. Lucifer on Netflix. The show Lucifer that was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. Give me the devil in any form. I love it. And I look at this, and the best is like that's
such a great iteration of the devil.
I love Satan as a villain. And I think as a protagonist, and this look, you know what? When it's personal, things are going to get real. Like, bring me the priest, like that moment. I'm like, oh, it's on, buddy. It's on. And there's a moment in the trailer where all the possession of what it's already happening, and you see like he's meeting with the Pope, And there's just one shot when the Pope is smiling and looks at him. And I'm like, yeah, Pope's possessed. That's what I want to see. Dude, first of all, the problem is there's been so many bad Exorcist movies.
Yes, there have.
And every time I go into a possession movie, I'm like, this is going to be the best one. And Gordon, what's his name? Gordon Green, who did the Halloween movies.
Right.
He's doing the Exorcist trilogy for Blumhouse, bringing back Ellen Burstyn to play her roles, Chris McNeil. If they F this up, I'm going to be so sad. But this, John, this looks like the palate cleanser I've been waiting for.
You know what's kind of exciting about this for me? The guy's name is Julius Avery. He's directing this film. He directed a little film that kind of came and went. That's the people who saw really remember Overlord? Came out a couple of years ago.
I liked Overlord.
Yeah, this is the same director doing this.
Even though it's J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot, I liked it.
I really liked Overlord. I got a big kick out of it.
There's a lot of good stuff in it.
And when I realized that he's the guy directing this movie as well, I was like,
oh, I'm in.
Hey, Ray, you saw this trailer a little bit earlier. What did you think about the trailer for The Pope's Exorcist?
No, I'm with Chris. No thanks. Anything that's closer to reality, like, there's the ghost movies, the horror with the paranormal stuff. This hits a little more real to me than other horror subjects.
Well, and did you know that this is based on a real life priest and is based on his memoirs?
So
you can read his books if you'd like to get a
little primer.
I don't need this in my head. Nope. Like when I'm alone, I don't need any of that.
You and I can go watch a delightful animal romp.
Yeah, we'll watch Avatar. I heard that one's really good. Avatar 2.
You can watch Avatar too.
Now, if you could get
see Ant-Man.
If you could get the Navi possessed, then you'd really have.
Oh my God! Then you're into something. All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think of the trailer for The Pope's Exorcist? I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it looks really fun. I mean, and Rob's right though. We've got a lot of bad ones. Maybe this will just be the next bad one, but I think there's a lot of promise here. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to another topic here. And Rob, you just kind of brought up the Navi and Avatar. Well, of course, Avatar 2 is now officially the third biggest film in the history of cinema. Now, James Cameron holds 2 of the top 3 spots, 3 of the top 4. An incredible accomplishment, making billions and billions of dollars. Well, in the world of streaming and Disney Plus now, a lot of people on the show, people have been calling in and sending in super chats asking, is it inevitable that we're going to get, Disney's going to say, hey, start developing that Avatar Disney Plus series. We need an Avatar Disney Plus series. And we need 4 or 5 spinoffs and all that kind of stuff. Well, pump the brakes. According to James Cameron, that's just not going to happen, at least not anytime soon. And the main reason Cameron is saying that's probably not going to happen anytime soon is because, well, it costs a hell of a lot of money to do. We can go over to my screen here for a second. So when asked about it, James Cameron said the following. He said, right now, the economics do not make sense to spin off any of our CG main characters into TV. But the cost of these things will progressively come down as we introduce machine deep learning into the process and make them more automated. Ask me again in 5 years. So, I mean, I remember when the question for, like, somebody super chatted in a question about that, and we said, look, just, they can't possibly do it, right? We're like, look, the world is streaming right now. For the past year, they've been getting a rude awakening that, oh, streaming isn't some magical fountain of money that is just going to work no matter what you do. Streamers for the last 6 months to a year have been realizing, oh my God, we're losing a lot of money. And it's not turning into this perpetual fountain of funds like everybody thought it was going to be. And now we see, Bob Iger was just talking the other day about we got to scale back a little bit. We've heard HBO is going to scale back a little bit. I mean, they're just going to try to put out all their premium content, but Peacock, Paramount Plus, they're developing stuff, but they're having to be a little bit more picky now. And in a world with Avatar, I mean, listen, this was an expensive movie to make. You try to make a weekly show, I don't care if it's even just 6 parts or 8 parts. Rob, there's just no cost to benefit ratio here that would make this make sense at all. And so I think James Cameron's absolutely right. Like, hey, look, maybe ask the question again in 5 years when the technology is sharpened and we've made it less expensive, and maybe in 5 years we can talk about it. But for right now, yeah, don't expect to see the adventures, of the Na'vi on Disney Plus anytime soon. Anyway, you heard about James Cameron's comments here. What do you think?
Well, it's not unsurprising. I mean, these are some of the most expensive movies ever made that take forever to finish, and just the length of time. I mean, what I did find really, what was most interesting about his comments is he said about deep learning and AI, like he's on that path. Like he's going on that path. And by the time he's done with his Avatar movies in 5 years, that'll go by in the blink of an eye. And by the time he'll finish, he's got Avatar 3, 4, 5. Mm-hmm. They won't even be done in 5 years. So he'll be I'm sure he's developing that technology to make whatever is going to be happening in Avatar 5 or 6 or wherever they go. That deep learning technology is probably a priority for him. And he always does the R&D for the industry. And whatever that technology that he's already working on, imagine what that can do for anything, not just Avatar, but CG characters across the board. We could start seeing some spectacular stuff, but it's all going to start here. Just like the pseudopod sequence in the Abyss led to the T-1000 that led to the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park. So, I mean, it's too bad we can't get something now, but probably it's for the best. Let James Cameron make it the best movie he can.
Yeah.
But I do think it's exciting to know that they are developing this technology, because who knows where it could go.
And I think you got to have a little bit of discernment and wisdom on Disney's side to go, look, I understand the temptation is going to be there to go, Avatar is the biggest film in the world. It's the number 3 film of all time and the number 1 film of all time. Let's start cranking out all this stuff. It doesn't matter if the quality's not so good. It doesn't matter if we cut corners. They realize we have long-term investment in this, and we shouldn't approach that way because we could lose a lot of money in the process. Anyway, Chris, you hear Cameron's comments. Are you surprised? Do you think maybe they would have tried to rush something onto Disney Plus, or do you think this is the right way to go?
I mean, I'm sure several executives tried to rush something onto Disney Plus.
Probably.
I'm sure they were like, why aren't we doing this? Give us a cartoon right now. Give us a series. Give us all these shorts. But I think this is the thing to do, because as we've seen with Disney Plus, when you dilute some of your IP, you don't get quality stuff. And so if you have a whole cinematic universe plus tie-ins to television and everything, you could have something that isn't as cohesive and tight as what you want. And these films obviously take a lot of James Cameron's time. He's really, really focused on these. Hyper-focused, some could say. But he's really, really devoted to this. Splitting that focus, I think, would lead to muddled projects. So I think it's definitely for the best that they're not doing this at this point in time.
And floating doors in water.
Yeah, well, and also he's got to do those Nat Geo petty projects,
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people thought they would, understandably, because let's face it, studios have shown a tendency to do this in the past. Just rush out a bunch of new Avatar product and put it on Disney Plus. According to James Cameron, that is not going to happen, at least not for another half decade or so, until it becomes more cost reasonable. Do you think they're making a mistake? Maybe you feel they should be putting this stuff out. Maybe they should be making their Ewoks version of an animated Na'vi show. I mean, I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get on to our next topic here, shall we? And this one breaks my heart. Netflix has put out a lot of great shows. And one of the ones that I have absolutely adored, Netflix also has a tendency of canceling shows that are really great. But one of the poster children for that is the David Fincher series, Mindhunter. That show was incredible. And it had 2 seasons. And everybody was waiting for season 3. And everybody was talking about season 3. And then they said, well, season 3 is not coming anytime soon. And, we might have to pull the plug on it. And they kind of, but even with all those reports, there have still been a lot of people who are fans of the show that have been waiting very patiently that any time now we are going to hear that David Fincher is going to hit social media and we're getting Mindhunter. Well, it's official. That ain't happening. David Fincher has come out and he has pretty much confirmed that it's just not going to happen. It costs too much. In the eyes of Netflix, we haven't attracted a large enough audience to justify such an investment, executive producer Fincher said. And he talked about this. Like, we'll go over to my screen here for a second, where he said the following. He said, I'm very proud of the first 2 seasons, but It's a particularly expensive series, and in the eyes of Netflix, we haven't attracted a large enough audience to justify such an investment, Fincher told. Oops, and I went to the wrong thing. Sorry about that. Fincher told, where do we go? Oh yeah, Fincher told the Journal, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, I don't blame them. They took risks just to launch the series. So, I mean, I think, unfortunately, for us who are fans of this incredible show, we have to say this is the final nail in the coffin. I mean, it's now done. I think a lot of us have held on to at least a little glimmer of hope. In Netflix's defense, they've never said, well, maybe we'll bring Mindhunter back. Like, nobody's ever said that, right? But I think a lot of us who have really loved this show, we're always held on to that little bit of hope. But really, when you think about it, that, considering they were remaking the world into like the 1960s thing every single week, that would have been a tremendously labor-intensive and expensive show to do. And maybe it just wasn't drawing the audience that it needed. And it really sucks because this was world-class storytelling, world-class performances. I loved this show, but it looks like it's not coming back. Chris, I don't know, despite this, do you think there could still be maybe a chance it comes back at some point? Or do we just now have to get to the acceptance phase of this and say, yep, I guess Mindhunter's done? What do you think?
I feel like that's what we need to do in this grieving process, because this feels like the nail in the coffin. And I'm so sad because I loved this show. As much as I don't like horror, I do like something that's psychologically spooky, and I like doing stuff like this. And Mindhunter was so well done and so well executed. Jonathan Groff was incredible on this, but this is an expensive show. I mean, I know a lot of times when we think of price, we think of special effects and post-production.
Yeah.
But doing something that's set in a specific time period is incredibly costly. Costuming, cars, the technology, and all the props you're using, not to mention all those different prison sets and having different places within the times they're working in. It really, really does add up. That being said, Netflix, what is wrong with you? This is so good. And this could have been such a prestige show for them too. One, if they properly marketed things, but I think two, if you kept this show going, I mean, the actors on this are incredible. The scripts are wonderful. I really think this could have done so much for the streamer, but c'est la vie.
Rob, you hear what Fincher's saying now? I mean, this sounds like it's definitive. This ain't coming back. What do you think about this?
I think this, in a way, it's kind of a show before its time.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's 6 years old, you know, and if with all the murder mysteries and the things that have become popular on streamers in the last 6 years, especially during the pandemic, I mean, this show could have had a huge audience. And of course, because of the way, and Anna Torv, maybe she wouldn't have been Seth.
So good in this.
It bums me out because this show was incredibly smart, and the storytelling, like everything Fincher does, it was so elegant and so well done. The acting, I didn't know much about Jonathan Groff, and he's become one of my favorite actors because of this show. All of them were great, and then the guy who played the actor who was the serial killer.
The one that they kept talking to,
who was on Umbrella Academy.
Yes,
I mean,
he's wonderful.
He was awesome in this, and then they were leading up to the was it the BTK killer? At the end of every episode, they would show. I mean, it's really unfortunate, but again, it's one of those great shows like Rome, you know, that only lasts 2 seasons at HBO, and you're like, wow, but it was too expensive to keep going. Mm-hmm. And this show, what a tremendous show. At least we have those 2 seasons, you know, and I just wish that it had come out maybe 2 or 3 years later, and I bet we would have got a 3rd season.
Yeah.
What really sucks about Mindhunter, like in the cacophony of all these shows that probably died before their time, was that when you watch Mindhunter, you got the feeling they never even got to their main story.
No,
that was the main thing.
Build to BTK.
They were building up to that and building up to that, and that was going to be. It's like trying to watch the MCU and then they canceled the MCU before we got to Infinity War.
Yeah,
and that's what this was,
dude. That's exactly what it was. And you know what else? I also think this is a very smart show.
Yes,
you know, it required. You could just casually watch it. You really, I think, had to pay attention. And I think that might have been, it was niche in a way, at least then. Bums me out. But there is the book that it's based on.
All right, guys. Question is for you. Were you somebody who watched Mindhunter? If so, you know what we're talking about. And if you didn't, look, I know we just talked about how they never even got to their main story, had its plug pulled before its time. Do go watch the seasons that are there because it is fantastic television. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that stuff down, let's now move on to our Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day, brought to you by our fantastic friends over at Mint Mobile. If you guys aren't on Mint Mobile, what are you doing? You're spending too much on your mobile service. Go on over to Mint Mobile and pay $15 a month for top line service like I do. Anyway, guys, if you have a question for our show and you want to hear your voice on it, go ahead and call our hotline number at 951-268-4259, and maybe you'll hear it on the show. And listen, we got somebody right in, this is going to be close to Rob's heart, asking about just how excited should we be about Dune Sisterhood?
Hi, John. My name is Anna Marie. Been a huge fan for a long time. I'm calling to talk about Dune Sisterhood. With the success of The Last of Us and Rings of Power and just the visual effects on those, do you think that's going to play a huge role into Dune Sisterhood? I'm so excited for it, and I can't wait for it to come out, as well as Dune Part 2. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in, Anne-Marie. And you know what? Dune Sisterhood is a big premium streaming event show that's coming out that we actually don't talk a lot about. It doesn't come up a lot. And I think probably that is unfortunately due to the fact that we still got Dune 2 coming, right? And all of our Dune attention right now is kind of focused on Dune 2 at the moment, right? That's what's coming. That's what we're looking forward to and all that kind of stuff. But this is going to be huge. And the other part of the reason I think a lot of people aren't talking about is because nobody really knows anything about Dune Sisterhood, except for the very, very few people like Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, who have read exhaustively all this stuff and knows all about it. But Rob, when you look at, HBO and you look at shows like Foundation, which I cannot wait for that show to come back. I've been loving Foundation. Or you look at House of the Dragon, like they're not afraid when they've got the show that they think is the right show with the right story and the right scripts. They're not afraid to put money into it, and they're not afraid to go big with visual effects. As somebody who knows more about Dune Sisterhood than most of us do, how excited should we be about this potential show? What's its potential? And is this going to be one of the shows that is going to require a lot of heavy visual effects work?
Well, first of all, the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood in the Dune universe are, they're the great manipulators behind everything. Like what they do is they go to planets like Arrakis and seed myths. They make shit up, like religions and prophecies, and they seed them into these the indigenous people on planets, so they can use these things to manipulate those people over the course of centuries. And what they're trying to do is create the supreme being. And what this show is, it does not take place in the year 10,191 that Dune takes place in. It takes place apparently like 10,000 years before that. So we're going to see the formation of the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood. How do they come to be? I'm fascinated by that idea. I mean, it would like the beginnings of the Catholic Church or something. Not that I don't mean to equate the Bene Gesserit with the Catholic Church, but how did that religion come to be? How did Christianity form? I love this idea as the basis for a show because they're master manipulators and their job is literally to create prophecy and play with bloodlines, do all kinds of manipulative stuff, which is right up my alley. I love that. So I think this is going to be a great show, but I think it is going to rely heavily on special effects because I don't think it's going to take place on Arrakis. It'll touch on that, but I don't think it will. And we're going to see many other parts of the Landsrad, which is the collection of human civilization, because there's really no aliens in Dune.
How far before the events of Dune is the Sisterhood supposed to take place?
10,000 years.
10,000 years.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that. And so there were only 6 Dune books written by Frank Herbert, and then his son, Brian Herbert, and Kevin J. Anderson wrote a bunch more. And they're the ones because they're all of the past of the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood was really filled in by them. So they're not James Herbert's a British horror novelist. Frank Herbert created Dune. Brian Herbert is his son. Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson were the ones that really filled in this past, this history. So I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited for it. And it's going to have a lot of special effects. And what I'm really interested in is how do they portray the whole universe? What does the Dune universe look like before the Butlerian Jihad, because in the Dune universe, there's no computers. They got rid of them because of the AIs rose up to destroy humanity, and that was the Butlerian Jihad. That's why you have mentats and there's human computers, and I think it's going to be great if it's well written.
And Chris, I mean, for somebody like me, that I am more focused on Dune itself. I mean, I read the original Dune. I never read more of the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood or anything like that. So I find myself being one of those people that's not really focused on the upcoming Sisterhood show or hyped about it. Where's your thought process on the show right now, and how big of an event could this be for Warner Brothers?
Dune, and this always makes Rob very sad, Dune is a very big gap in my nerd upbringing and pedigree. I did not read the books. The movie, because of that, I found to be very, very slow-paced. Beautiful, but very slow-paced. I've heard from other people, they're like, well, that's like watching the Lord of the Rings movies and feeling like it crawls at a slow pace. But if you read Tolkien, it feels right, you know, or the Rings series. I'm not particularly jazzed about it. Just because of that. The cast is amazing and stacked, though. You've got Emily Watson, you've got Shirley Henderson, you have what's his name, Travis Fimmel from the Viking show, who was so amazing. So it's got a really, really great cast. Mark Strong is in it too, who's incredible.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is that true? When did they know? I didn't realize Mark Strong.
He is going to be playing Emperor Javico Corino. Sorry if I said those names wrong.
Okay, Mark Strong is the Emperor of the Universe. I'm in.
Totally the cast gets me very, very excited. You've got some really fantastic people here. I don't know enough about the actual story, though, to really weigh in more than that.
It's going to be a bunch of manipulating, scheming people in space.
But is it going to like move with the scheming? You know what I mean? Because right now, like those sandy hills are real pretty.
God,
I need a little bit more.
It breaks my heart. I love the first Dune movie so much.
I know. And then people in the chat, I'm sure, are going to at me about it. But, you know, I'm trying to be honest.
Come visit.
I just thought it was slow.
I'll show it to you.
Seems like most people in the chat agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will we have a bucket of red vines like that?
Yes. Would you like
Stale
to?
ones.
You know, it's not my thing.
Rob only eats stale ones.
Only stale ones?
Yeah, well, stale red vines are the best.
All right, guys, with that down, question is for you. Like, are you into the Dune movies that we've had, the one we've had so far, the one that's upcoming? Have you been thinking about Sisterhood coming up? Have you been excited about it? Maybe it's just been off your radar. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to take just a moment here and thank a couple of the sponsors of the John Campea Show here today, our friends at the Black Tux and Fume. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, the Black Tux. It's time we had the talk. You know the one I'm talking about, the one that ends in the 3-letter word. I'm talking about a tux. And when you need a tux, the best place to go to get one is the Black Tux. The Black Tux makes it super easy to get an on-trend, top-quality, guaranteed to fit tux without ever needing to leave your house. So here's how it works. Take the Black Tux fit quiz, pick the style you want to wear, and boom, your tux is delivered to your door 10 days before the day you need it. That's plenty of time to try it on and make sure it wears you well. And hey, if the fit's not quite right, say hello to the Black Tux Fit Guarantee. Order a better size within a day or two of receiving the less than great fitting one, and they'll send another one right away at no extra cost. Their expert fit specialist will help you find the perfect style tux or suit and make sure it fits just right. Listen, I've been dubious in the past about online sites or apps that say they can get your measurements, but the fit quiz with the Black Tux works great. And man, I wish I had had these guys for so many events I've attended over the years. So rent or buy, the Black Tux is the best place to go when you need a tuxedo for a wedding or a special night. And right now, when you go to theblacktux.com/Campea and use the code Campea, you'll save $20 off your order. That's TheBlackTux.com/Campea, code Campea to save $20. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Fume. Be smart. Don't start. Kick the habit. Put it out before it puts you out. All phrases we've heard 100 times, and yet we still continue to have bad habits. Today's sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. You see, Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Because instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. And Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile. With an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap, your fingers will always have something to do. The device itself is really attractive, and once I popped in the core and took my first inhale of it, it tasted fantastic. Guys, the easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed to perfectly do just that. So head over to tryfume.com and use the promo code Campea to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfume, tryfum.com, and use the code Campea to save an additional 10% off your order today. And thank you to our friends at the Black Tux and Fume for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, right at the top, you'll find links and promo codes for all of our sponsors. And thank you again to the Black Tux and Fume. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to another Mint Mobile hotline question, shall we? And you know what's opening up this week? Cocaine Bear. So it's all about that. Let's check it out.
Hey, John and crew, this is Cutter from Texas. With Cocaine Bear coming out in a couple of days, did y'all happen to see the first social media reactions? They're sounding pretty good, but the full reviews don't drop until the day of when the movie comes out. Hopefully it's not a bad sign. I'm really looking forward to this movie. Can't wait to go see it Thursday night. Thanks, and bring on the selfie.
All right, Cutter, thanks a lot for sending that in. Okay, look, ever since that trailer for Cocaine Bear dropped, I've been very excited about this movie, like irrationally so. But don't confuse me being excited to see it with actually having a solid belief that it was going to be very good.
Very good.
Not very good, but, you know, and then the other day I heard one reaction. That wasn't so great. So I went, so it sounds like it's not so good. Well, the actual social media embargo lifted and the reactions are kind of everything I wanted to hear. They sound great. Some are saying it's the best film of the year. Now, granted, we are in February. But hell, even the horror magazine Fangoria gave it a glowing kind of response, and this is great. Let's go over to my screen here for a second. Here's some of the reactions we saw coming out of that. Kinjak said, okay, the embargo is up on Cocaine Bear. It is my favorite movie of the year, the funniest I have seen in like 2 years, and such a blast. Very Lord and Miller. If the theater experience is anything like my screening, you will have an absolutely amazing time in theaters with this. Eric wrote, Cocaine Bear, picture in your mind what a film about a bear on cocaine would be like. That's what this is. Actually felt the classic comedy bits, punchlines, etc. were better than the bear stuff, which speaks to just how traditionally funny this movie can be at times. All right. Also, we got Cocaine Bear was absolutely hilarious. I can't give my entire review until the 23rd, but think Final Destination, but with a coked out bear. I love it. 8 out of 10. Chris writes, Cocaine Bear is the best comedy of 2023 so far. Again, we're only in February. Full tilt, gory zaniness. By the way, gory is a word we hear a lot of. Full tilt, gory zaniness, counter programming we left behind in the 90s comes back to life. Kind of wastes its cast, but Margot Martindale, MVP, the ambulance set piece is an all-timer for horror hounds. MSB writes, Cocaine Bear offers what one expects from it. An absolutely insane bear wreaking havoc, bloody havoc, while also doing its stupidest things imaginable. A totally nonsensical yet extremely entertaining time where nothing else matters besides the bear who did cocaine. And on and on and on. And these are the I mean, this is a pretty consistent set of reactions that we're hearing coming out. And listen, with a movie called Cocaine Bear,
so funny to me.
and the trailer that they showed, these are, you don't just want to hear decent reactions. These are the actual reactions I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear it's just nutty. And I wanted to hear that it's gory. And I wanted to hear that it's funny. And I wanted to hear that, like the line is like, imagine a movie of a bear on cocaine. That's what this movie is. Like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I did not need to hear this is Shakespeare. I didn't need to hear early front runner for best screenplay. I didn't need to hear any of that. I wanted to hear that it is as ludicrous and ridiculous as everything about it looks like. Now, that being said, it is never a good sign when any studio puts the full review embargo deadline the day the movie comes out. Now, that doesn't take away from the reactions of some of the people who have seen the movie, but what it does tell me is that the studio did not feel confident the reactions would be good. Because if the studio had been confident that the reactions would have been good, number one, these social media review embargoes, that would have been lifted 3 or 4 days ago. And then number two, the full review embargoes would have been lifted a couple of days ago, not the day the movie is coming out. And that makes me nervous. Because if the studio didn't feel confident that people were going to like it, all right, well, we'll see. So look, me and Ray, we're going to go see this thing tomorrow night. I'm stoked. I'm going to have my popcorn. I'm going to have my patented butter technique soaking in the butter in that. I'm going to have my Coke Zero ready to go. And I'm going to watch a bear do cocaine and then do a bear on cocaine kind of shit. And I'm looking forward to it. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. The fact that the studio isn't lifting the review embargo until the day the movie comes out, not a good sign. So I'm going to try to reel in my enthusiasm just a little bit. Anyway, Chris, I know you have been pretty popping about this movie.
Yeah.
You've seen the reactions to it now. What are you thinking?
First of all, Cutter, what part of Texas are you from? Hey, buddy. Yay, love a fellow Texan. I'm really excited about this. I bought a bear onesie. I'm going to be in the theater tomorrow in full bear regalia. I'm real excited. This is a script written by Jimmy Warden, who did the Babysitter films. So it's that level of gore, probably turned up with the bear in there, you know? So that kind of stuff I'm really, really here for. Hyper violent, hyper stylized violence, which I think is going to be really, really fun. I'm really interested by everyone using the word surprised. Like, it's surprisingly fun. How would this not be? If you just follow the Twitter account for Cocaine Bear, you know this
Oh my
is
God,
be
the Twitter
ridiculous.
account has been
It's
brilliant.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It's so good.
Brilliant.
They're so funny. They are not taking themselves seriously, any part of this movie. Elizabeth Banks has been doing wonderful marketing for this. I'm so excited for her to be directing something like this too, because I think it just suits her personality. I think she has such a wonderful sense of comedy and comedic timing herself. So I think this is going to be a really big win for her too. I'm just pumped. It's going to be a blast. Are you coming with me?
Uh-oh.
Are you not?
I don't know that I'll be able to make it
You're
tomorrow night. I know, I suck.
Oh my
I'm so
gosh.
hyped for this
Rob
movie.
Fake
sent
boyfriend,
out
no.
on our chain. I remember the day after Super Bowl, because Super Bowl had that Diet Pepsi commercial or the Pepsi Zero commercial, right? And Rob sent out, Cocaine Bear had its own Twitter account. And it's just a picture of a bear, and it's Cocaine Bear, and it had the Pepsi commercial in it. And the one line said is, Coke is always better. And I just, that's what they've been doing with this Twitter account. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, Rob, you're reading the reactions here. Where has your anticipation level been for this, and what are you thinking about the reaction?
Okay, I gotta explain. Like, I'm of two minds of these kinds of movies. Like, I grew up with movies like Piranha, the original Piranha, written by or Alligator, written by like John Sayles, a great screenwriter, great filmmaker, that have humor, but they're not stupid.
Right.
I don't like stupid humor. Like, it was hard for me to buy into Asylum movies, like Sharknado. I can't. I love Anthony Ferrante who direct those movies, but I can't buy into them because they're goofy. There's no verisimilitude at all. This movie, if it's got a lot of funny social satire, and actually, if I believe the threat, like the idea of a bear doing cocaine is funny, but it's also scary as hell. You have a rabid giant bear who's going to tear you apart limb from limb, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the fact that the bear doesn't care if you're a kid, a parent, a grandparent, it will eat you. That's what I want. And everything I've seen from this movie leads me to believe it's that. It's what I want. I want fools getting wrecked by a cocaine crazed bear. And I want to see violence. I want to see and gore. Like, it sounds to me like it's exactly what I want from this movie. Because, you know, I love when movies know what they're supposed to be, as opposed to like reaching for the stars and failing utterly. It looks to me like they've nailed it. And these
There's that thing you sent out. Cocaine Bear. Coke is always better. I love that.
But again, like you said, the lack of, if the movie's that much fun, why not let people review it? But I think they also might be scared because sometimes studios and people are like, well, that movie's not very nice. It's not politically correct. Maybe they're afraid of the fact that this thing kills kids or something.
Well, listen,
and I think it kills everybody.
I think this is going to be the new DARE program in Texas.
I mean,
this is what we're going to start implementing.
happens.
That's hilarious.
This is your brain. This is what happens if you're anywhere near cocaine.
I don't think they were worried about political right. I don't think any of that.
Nah.
I think it's strictly when you get movies like this.
But I just mean somebody that it's not. What I mean is it's not PC. You can tell from the trailer.
I don't think they're worried about that either. Here's what I think they're worried about, because we have seen movies that have gone for the bonkers ridiculousness, right? Sometimes they work and sometimes they do not. And sometimes when you watch one of them, you're like, I don't know what other people are going to think about this. And I feel like the studio, because Universal's the studio on this, right? I feel like Universal looked at this and goes, look, we like this, but we don't know that the other people will.
Yeah.
So let's hold off on the review embargo. So I don't know.
I mean,
Let's see.
first of all, that last trailer they released was so good.
It was so good.
I mean, you watch the trailer and you're like, I hope the movie's that.
I mean, just that shot of the bear chasing the ambulance and then slow motion diving for the open door. I mean, come on.
And then somebody's reaction said it was a banger scene. Like it was.
Yeah, like one of the great set piece scenes.
I mean, I just hope it's that. I
Have you
hope
guys
it's
seen
that.
the-
I hope they kill people indiscriminately. I want to see limbs torn asunder and blood everywhere.
Have you guys seen the Funko Pop yet? Oh, I am like super out of focus, but it is so cool. Let me pull
There's
it
a
up right
cocaine bear funk.
now. Yeah, come on.
Look at the foot. The foot. I have to have this. I have to have this in my collection. All right. Anyway, guys, question is for you. The reactions to Cocaine Bear are shockingly really good. So, I mean, I don't know. I am absolutely worried that the review embargo doesn't lift to the day the movie comes out. And don't give me this. Oh, it's because they don't want spoilers to come out. Don't give me that. They're scared. Okay, the studio is scared.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see. I can't wait to do my out of theater reaction on it tomorrow. Any guys, are you looking forward to Cocaine Bear? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's get on to our next topic here, shall we? And that one is this. Speaking of premium streaming television, as we talked about a bunch of it here today already, Mandalorian is one of the great fun shows that's out there right now. And of course, how far away are we from the new season?
Like a week.
Yeah.
A week or two?
Yeah.
New season of Mandalorian, season 3 coming out. The trailers have looked really solid. Great. I love that we're going to Mandalore. We're going to get some more open war. We're going to get a lot more Mandalorians in there. Very, very excited about it. And so a lot of us are counting down the clock. Well, Jon Favreau wasn't just content to have season 3 ready to go. According to a new report, and according to Jon Favreau himself, Jon Favreau's already done writing season 4. It's done. And he said, what's interesting, he kind of alludes to the idea that to make season 3 the best we could, I needed to know where we were going. Where are we going? And so he started developing season 4 while they were doing season 3, and then kind of finish off the scripts for season 4. He said a couple of really interesting things here. He said this. Let's go to my screen for a second. He said this. He said, yeah, season 4, I've written it already, said Jon Favreau. We have to know where we are going to tell a fully formed story. So we had mapped it out, Dave Filoni and I, and then slowly you just write each episode. So I was writing it during post-production because all of it has to feel like a continuation and one full story. Now he goes on and talks about this. This is really interesting too. He says, and then he's talking about Dave Filoni. He's doing Ahsoka, which I'm in production with him, but he's the writer and the showrunner on that one. And so to understand what's happening on other shows or even Skeleton Crew, they all have to take place in this. They all take place in the same Star Wars time period. So there's a lot more things that we have to keep in mind and stuff that we've built up from previous seasons of The Mandalorian as well. So the one interesting thing that Favreau talks about here is that season 4 is written. We already know where we're going. We've got it all mapped out. The episodes are fully written now, ready to go. So that tells us that, yeah, there's going to be a Mandalorian season 4. Not that I think many people doubted that there would have been one, but we can give that as a big confirmation now. There's going to be a Mando season 4. But also him going on to talk about, we have to be completely aware of the connection between these different shows. Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, Mandalorian. They don't mention it, but probably Boba Fett as well. And you know we're going to get crossover events. Like maybe not movies, maybe not a crossover series per se, but you know in various episodes we're going to get some crossover events. And I think it's really interesting the way Favreau's saying, look, we, all of us making all these different shows that's under our umbrella, we all have to be aware of what's happening on the other shows for what we're doing, because there is an interconnected thing there, which is what really to me says we're going to be getting some crossover stuff. Whether that's Ahsoka showing up in Mandalorian season 3, which by the way, I don't doubt for a second that we're going to see Ahsoka at least make an appearance in season 3, if for no other reason to help really build up and hype the Ahsoka series. So I took a lot of interesting stuff out of this. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to read Favreau's comments. What do you take away from him?
Well, I love the fact that they know where they're going, that we're going to get an extended, you know me, John, I love authorship. I love when stories are tightly constructed and they don't meander and they seem like there was a lot of thought put into it. So this is right up my alley. This is exactly what I want. And if it also leads me to believe that the third season of Mandalorian that's about to drop is going to be pretty damn good. I mean, I'm expecting the best season of Mandalorian yet, because
Me too.
you know, they've really already created some really interesting directions for the show. The retaking of Mandalore, the Darksaber, Grogu coming back. And all of that is, I think, what people want out of this show. And I think they've ironed out the kinks in the first 2 years. They know what they're doing. And I think it's like with Star Trek. You know, Star Trek The Next Generation started to get
Okay,
really
we
good.
are at 1 hour and
Third
26
season.
minutes. That was the Star Trek marker on this one. Okay, good. Just wanted to
It
point
was
that
really
out.
good in the
Great.
third season, so I would expect that this season of Mando is going to be the best yet.
You know what? I completely agree. And I don't know if that's just me having blind optimism, but the trailers look fantastic. Anyway, Chris, Jon Favreau kind of spilled a bunch of stuff here, talking about the scripts being written, the interconnectionists being in awareness. What was your main takeaway from everything he said?
I mean, like you guys, it's nice that they've got a game plan. I think that's the key thing here. And yesterday, it was announced on Making Star Wars, I saw CBR reposted this, that they are set to film Mandalorian Season 4 starting in the fall of this year. So I would hope that they have all of these things already written if they're already going into production itself. But I think that's one of the things you have to be really, really aware of, as we've seen with other extended universes. You need to know what's going on in every pocket of that universe so everything can feel very cohesive. So good job, Jon Favreau.
And here's where
Let's
it
not
becomes
have it be Boba Fett.
especially, I mean, it sounds simple to say, hey, it's a good thing to have your plan laid out. But in the world of Star Wars, we have unfortunately been given a very real world reason to be very, very aware of the importance of that. Because, you know, when you look at, again, I make no apologies for it. I think The Force Awakens is spectacular. I liked the second one, had problems with it, and the third one, The Rise of Skywalker, was just utter garbage. But that was all. The reason it went so downhill so fast, because they had no plan.
Well, and the plans that were set up, they just went, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Get rid of
They
them.
reacted.
Yeah.
But even then, if they said, it's one thing to set up something in something, it's another thing to set something up and then already have the plan for what you're going to do in the next one. They just decided to enter into the new Star Wars films, and I know I sound like a broken record on this, to just wing it and pull it out of our ass as we go, and it'll be fine. And it wasn't fine. And I think hopefully part of this is Kathleen Kennedy saying, I had to learn a very important lesson. Jon Favreau saying, we've learned the lesson from what happened there. And realizing, hey, if we're going to make Star Wars stuff, and we're going to have this vast universe, we have to have a plan. And it's amazing how much better things go when you actually plan things out. Imagine that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Favreau said, hey, all of season 4 is already done and written and ready to go. Talking about we're always making sure everybody's aware of what's going on with all these interconnected shows. What is the part that stands out to you the most? Part of the reason why I think Favreau wouldn't be a bad choice to be the next head of Lucasfilm. But whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to another topic here. And speaking of a plan and continuation of stories, one of the reasons that I have some faith in Sony, as particular the Sony Spider-Verse that they have, number one is because, say what you want, Sony has made the best Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 2 is arguably, well, Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, those are the two best Spider-Man movies ever. Which one's number one, which one's number two, who knows? But the two best Spider-Man movies ever made were both made by Sony. And the partnership that Sony has had with Marvel has delivered, I think, 3 really good Spider-Man movies as well. But I know I'm not in the vast majority here, but I don't care. I loved the first Venom. I had so much fun in that movie. I giggled and laughed. I liked Venom 2, not as much, but I had a good time with Venom 2 as well. But there hasn't been really clear on whether or not there was going to be a Venom 3. I think we've all kind of assumed there was going to be a Venom 3, but they haven't been really, really clear on that. Well, now it is perfectly picture clear because Tom Hardy got on his social media and revealed that he is already, he's said it himself explicitly, we're in pre-prep now for Venom 3. We're working on it now. Venom 3, then he put up a throwback video to something else that I think was a deleted scene from another Venom movie, or maybe it was just a screen test. Not sure. But he has straight up announced we're in pre-prep for Venom 3, so that is coming. I personally welcome our new alien overlords. I love this news because I don't care what anybody else says. I love this series. I love Tom Hardy as this character. I love this iteration of Venom. I really, really do. And I am just excited. Now, again, I did prefer the first one over the second one. So I hope they're able to loop back a little bit, lean more into the strengths of the first one. I honestly, listen, I don't care. I could watch 90 minutes just of Tom Hardy and Venom talking. I could watch 90 minutes of them just talking to each other. Their odd couple, roommate kind of banter, I could just eat it up. It was my favorite parts. And of course, one of the greatest end lines of any movie in history. What should we get? Chocolate and tater tots. One of the greatest lines in cinematic history. They should have a marble plaque with that etched in it down at the Hollywood Hall of Fame that they have right now. I love it. Anyway, love that they're going to do a Venom 3. Chris, if there's anybody in this room who loves Venom as much as me, I know it's you.
Yeah.
What do you think about this news that Venom 3 is coming?
Fun. I love it. I think this is great. Venom's so freaking weird. I love these movies so much. They're just kind of goofy and ridiculous. And I think Tom Hardy has a really fun time making them. And most of his oeuvre has not been like super fun stuff that he's made. It's usually very intense films. So you can tell he really enjoys playing this character. He loves being the voice of Venom and everything as well. I'm really excited for them to be jumping back in here. Give me a whole bunch more of these movies. I don't care how weird or campy they get. I love them. They're just a fun ride.
Rob, Tom Hardy's now made it official. They're prepping Venom 3 at this point. No word on who's directing it. I don't think Andy Serkis is coming back, but what do you think about this?
What's not to love? Look, I'm not the biggest fan of these movies, but they're fun to watch. I enjoy them, and I do love Tom. I mean, clearly Tom Hardy's having a great time. I mean, the people that are making these movies, there's a wit and a verve to these films that you have to, just let it wash over you because they're fun. I mean, not everything has to be, to me, these are like 90s superhero movies before, and it's good. I mean, I like that. John, I never loved the character of Venom in the comics, but if we have to get Venom movies, these are pretty good and they're a lot of fun and they crack me up. Venom's funny.
I remember, going into Thor: Love and Thunder, there was, for people who read the comics, there was a lot of speculation going around because the Necrosword, which is like the main kind of MacGuffin in Thor: Love and Thunder that he uses to kill gods with, right? In the comics, for those you don't know, that Necrosword comes from the god of the symbiotes.
Yep.
Null. And so there was a lot of wondering if they were going to draw a connection between Venom and Thor. They obviously didn't. They just kept the Necrosword. Do you think, I have my own opinion of this, but I wanted to ask you this. With the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home, was that the one where a little bit of the symbiote was left behind? I think it was.
Yes.
Do you think they are going to, with Venom 3, draw more of a connection between Venom and our Tom Holland Spider-Man? Or do you think I kind of believe they're just going to let it go and say that was just a fun little bit, but I don't know, do you think they're going to use Venom 3 to tighten that connection or just kind of let it go?
I think there's going to be something They're going to have something. I don't know what that's going to be because clearly they're building. They got Madam Web coming. They've got Kraven the Hunter coming. They're building out their Spider-Man universe. And this is basically their flagship Spider-Man trilogy. That's not a Spider-Man trilogy.
Right.
So I think they're going to do something. There's going to be something in this movie that definitely points the direction. Because before it comes out, we're going to get both Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web. So, and we're going to already have Morbius and 2 other previous Venom movies. So this is going to be, I mean, they've got quite a good little Spider-Verse on their hands. So I would imagine they're going to do something in this movie that sort of ties the room together, so to speak, because they kind of have to. Otherwise,
Do they?
I think they do because they're building a Spider-Verse.
Right.
And it's been so unconnected up to this point. And that connection with the MCU was tenuous at best. But this is the time when there's got to be some vision for their Spider-Verse. Otherwise, what are they doing? Like, I don't know what the point would be. And I think that this is, I don't know. Look, I'm not saying that for sure. I would just think that whatever's going to happen in Venom 3, that's the most successful of these franchises, they're going to want to pull all these things together into some kind of a cohesive whole. The way that it's, because it's call it their Spider-Verse. I think they're going to want to unify it somehow. And this is their flagship franchise, the Venom franchise.
All right, guys, question is for you. Tom Hardy's let the cat out of the bag. We're in pre-prep for Venom 3 at this point. Again, I think a lot of us suspected they were going to do a Venom 3, but this is the first kind of official thing that we've seen that they're actually doing it. Are you a fan? Not everybody is. Not everybody's a fan of these Venom movies. I know that, but I am. Are you a fan of it? Are you not? Are you excited about this news? Maybe you don't care. How do you think they're going to tie it in? Are they not? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our main topic here today, shall we? That one is this. You know, the first DCEU movie might have been the only one. At least the first one. It wasn't the only one. It was Aquaman. Aquaman was the first DCU movie to make $1 billion at the box office. And maybe ultimately it wasn't the only one that did
Joker
it.
did, but it's not part of the
Right, it wasn't part of the DCEU. And that shocked a lot of people, including me. Like, a lot of people thought this movie could be good. I thought it was going to make a lot of money, but I didn't think it would make $1 billion, to be honest with you. And it did. And I thought it was really fun. I know, Rob, you and I saw it together, actually.
I loved it.
And you had a great time. I enjoyed it. And the movie went on to make $1 billion. So, of course, you know they got to get a second one out. Now, here's the thing. Whenever a big movie is coming out, some jerkwad gets online and pretends that, oh, I've got the inside scoop on the test screenings.
Right.
Listen to me. Whenever you hear a report about test screenings, ignore it. Because people who go into test screenings have to sign NDAs out their ass that literally could cost them their livelihoods and everything if it got discovered they broke those NDAs, but whatever. So we heard, oh, whatever at the test screening of this movie got standing ovations, and then the movie turned out to be crap. It was bullshit. Then we heard, the test screenings of, remember this? The first Wonder Woman movie? Test screenings, people walking out of the test screenings of Wonder Woman. Turns out that movie was awesome, and people really, really liked it. With the upcoming Aquaman 2, remember a couple months ago? First test screenings, people loving Aquaman 2. We heard those reports coming out, and I told everybody at the time, ignore those things. Well, now there's new reports coming from anonymous people, of course, saying, oh, people are walking out of the test screenings of Ant-Man 2 or of Aquaman 2. People are walking out of Aquaman 2. And again, you should just ignore it. You should absolutely always ignore any story about test screenings, because anybody can just make shit up, put it out there, and 9 times out of 10, it's all bullshit. Now, that being said, sometime after those initial stories came out about real positive test screenings for Aquaman, I was talking to a filmmaker who has worked and done projects with Warner Brothers, and we had correspondence with them, and Aquaman came up, and I had to go digging back through my message history. Now, they told me this at the time. And by the way, I get told all the time. I get reached out to all the time by people say, hey, I'm inside the studio. I found out this isn't very good, or I've heard this is great, or hey, I have seen some of this and it's great. I've seen some of this is terrible. And most of the time I just like water off the back. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. But I bring this up for a reason. Let's go over to my screen for a second. So just about a month and a half ago, I'm having a correspondence with somebody, and I pulled this out of it, and because we were talking about Ant-Man 2. Now, this is a number of weeks ago, okay? Maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, whatever. And this is what this filmmaker who has worked with Warner Brothers said to me. I personally only saw a few minutes, and honestly, I liked what I saw. But the folks I talked to that have seen the whole thing isn't encouraging me. Really disappointing was said more than once. So again, this is about a month and a half ago. I had somebody who is connected to that studio system says, I have personally spoke with the people in the studio system who've seen it, and they were using the term really disappointing. Now, I hear stuff like this all the time. I never talk about it, whatever. The reason I bring up this correspondence today is because another person in our space who constantly comes up with very, very reliable stuff, Jeff Schneider, he just recently put this out. Do you guys have that graphic I sent you?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Let's bring that up. So Jeff Schneider, who has, of course, been putting up a lot of very reliable stuff. Let's take me off the screen there so we can read that. He said this, talking about Aquaman 2. I hear it's terrible. And that's why Momoa is going to be Lobo going forward. But they can't say that yet because then it would be a lame duck. And DC is hoping to wring out another $1 billion out of the box office. The first one was awful too. I disagree with Jeff on that.
I do too.
I think the first one was a lot of fun. So not a huge surprise. So once I read Jeff said that, it just reminded me of the conversation I had. I went back, pulled out the message. So, completely ignoring the bullshit things going out there about the test screenings or that nobody knows what's in the test screenings. All right. But that said, I have been told, and I'm very enthusiastic for Aquaman 2. I love Jason Momoa, and I really enjoyed the first one. I did hear that the insiders on the studio saying it was very, quote unquote, very disappointing. Jeff Schneider, who I don't think is talking to the same people I'm talking to. Maybe he is, but I don't think it's the same people. Jeff Snyder saying he is hearing that it is terrible. And that to me is very, very concerning. And it's difficult to believe too because of the director, right? You got James Wan on this who does banger stuff. I mean, and I loved what he did with the first one. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we have to temper our expectations. Listen, I never invest everything about my anticipation level for something I hear from one or two people. Because that's a fool's errand, right? You're just going to be bouncing back and forth all the time if that's what you do. But this does make me a little bit nervous. And I can't help but wonder if, Jeff kind of is drawing a connection. Granted, he's just speculating, but drawing a connection between the quality of the next Ant-Man and why they're looking to move Jason Momoa onto another character. Again, maybe that's much ado about nothing. Maybe it's much ado about a lot of things. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, Rob, you're hearing these reports and all this kind of stuff. You love the first Ant-Man movie, but what are you making of all this?
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. I don't believe anything until I see it because
that's a good philosophy.
Movies are an iterative process. And I've heard so many times over the last 30 years I lived in LA, this movie's a disaster. I have heard that they're doing reshoots. They're like changing a significant plot point.
Every comic book movie
does
that.
And that's why I don't. And this opens in December, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like we're almost a year away from this movie.
Of course, it was supposed to open.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
like they bumped it like a year.
But I think, and also, look, this movie, just like the first one, I'm sure the potential for goofiness is there. I mean, unless you're predisposed to liking sea creatures on other sea creatures that are armored, fighting in the ocean.
Sound like you were describing a very different kind of movie.
No. I mean, look, very Harryhausen-esque. A lot of people don't dig that. I love this about this movie. I think James Wan was channeling his Jason and the Argonauts and Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and all that. And that's why I love the movie so much. But there's a lot of people that's not their thing. So it might be a tonal issue. It might be something that it's too fantasy for them. I just don't buy it until we see the whole film. And the problem is people would rather report on things being bad then good.
Well, that's how you get headlines.
Yeah, so
you
there's
get
a-
attention by making that shit up.
Yeah, so
Yes.
there's a bias to the bad side anyway, and I don't even know what that means. Like, I hear it's awful, but the first one was awful too. When you say that, and I like the first one, what am I supposed to take away from that, Jeff? That if they made the movie that's similar to the first, good, bring it on. That's what I want to see. So I'm going to give James Wan the benefit of the doubt, Peter Safran the benefit of the doubt because he's producing it as well. So we'll see.
Anyway, now it's important to keep in mind too, this, even though James Gunn and Peter Safran are the heads of DC now, like the upcoming Flash movie, which we're all hearing is insanely good. This one not so good. It's important to keep in mind that while this movie will come out like almost a year into James Gunn and Peter Safran's leadership of DC, this is not their movie. This is a movie that was completed shooting and all that kind of stuff long before they took over. So anyway, Chris, you're hearing the stuff that I have heard. We're now hearing from Jeff Snyder as well. I mean, you don't want to put all your eggs in just hearing from a couple sources, but I don't know. What do you think about all this?
I mean, Jeff is somebody who you can usually rely on and everything, but I do feel like there is this kind of ideology of, well, Warner Brothers is such a dumpster fire right now, so everything that they're going to be putting out for the most part is going to be really bad, and that's why we're scrapping everything. We saw Jason Momoa come out of a building really excited. We need to make sure we know why and why that move is happening. I think a lot of this is us trying to put some puzzle pieces together without having all the pieces there. So I like that first one. I think it's super fun and wacky. I had a good time watching it. I'm honestly not expecting something really highbrow from this film to begin with, though.
Right.
Like, I will throw that out there. But until we can see the movie, I don't know. We haven't even seen a trailer for this. I just feel like if it was that bad, it probably would have already gone the way of the dodo.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you feel about this? We all really like the first Aquaman movie. Been looking forward to the second one. I mean, I've been hearing not solid things, but again, not like a ton of it. So I kind of put it aside. But now Jeff is saying he's also heard it's terrible. And, you know, look, I don't agree with a lot of Jeff's opinions on things. But if Jeff says, I heard from sources it's terrible, Jeff don't lie.
No, he
like
doesn't.
if he said then that's what he got
He's
told.
pretty reliable.
So that doesn't automatically mean that it is terrible. I don't know. How does this affect your anticipation of the movie at all? I try not to let it at all, but are you surprised to hear this? You not surprised to hear it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we are now going to move on and start taking our beloved channel members' thoughts, theories, questions, and opinions. If you are one of our channel members, and thank you if you are, you can go ahead into the community tab and you'll see the post there where you can leave your thoughts, theories, questions, and we will get to as many of those as we can once we come back from taking another break to thank a couple more of the sponsors of our show today, our friends over at MasterClass and Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. So guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a John Campea Show listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Just go to masterclass.com/Campea now. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off Masterclass. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, we still have some time left here in the show, so we're going to go over and take some comments and questions from our channel members. So what do we got in there, Chris?
From Lando, my issue with the MCU currently is the tone. It feels like the MCU slowly is turning into the Val Kilmer, George Clooney Batman movies. I miss the tone that the Jon Favreau and the Russo brothers brought. Well, we haven't seen any nips yet on any costumes, so slow our rolls.
I would propose this. You go back to those eras. The tone ain't completely different. I mean, you get your movies like Civil War, Winter Soldier, a little different, but you go back to Iron Man, you go back to life. Here's the difference though, to me. Now, Thor Love and Thunder is different. That one swung the pendulum way too far into the silly. But to me, the ultimate difference is their timing and quality was better. And what I mean by that is the timing of the humor was better and the quality of the humor was better. Like when in Iron Man, they goes, no gang symbols. when Tony, go back to Iron Man 1, Tony's in the backseat, no gang symbols. Right? Like you're about to get a bomb that goes off and all this kind of stuff. But the difference was the timing of the jokes was great and the laugh out of the jokes was great. Today's MCU is not so much, again, take Thor Love and Thunder out of it for a second. It's not so much as the tone of it or the amount of humor. It's that the humor isn't timed as well and it's just not as funny. Like She-Hulk is a great example of that to me. The one reason and only reason She-Hulk as a show did not work for me at all is that it was a comedy that was not funny. And it becomes really hard. Nothing is more cringy than watching somebody try to be funny and not be funny. That's difficult. That's why I don't go to a lot of stand-up comedy shows because, man, when a comedian is on stage and it's not funny, it's painful to watch. So I don't know if there's actually that huge of a shift in that way. But what we are missing in this stage is, well, Eternals was more along the lines of a Winter Soldier or whatever. As far as I don't know, Rob, how would you respond to that?
Well, I think the problem is there's no grounding in the real world. I mean,
yeah,
there's a little bit of grounding in the beginning of Ant-Man, but then once you get into the quantum realm, it's so fantastical and so out there. And the same with Thor Love and Thunder. There was no grounding in reality. And I think one of the great things about the Infinity Saga is, for the most part, when the characters were introduced, it was in the real world. Iron Man 1 is very much a product. It's very naturalistic. You're in the caves of Afghanistan or wherever, and then you're in Malibu, and all of the environments, it's not shot on volume stages. You're on real locations. You're in real buildings for the most part. I mean, sure, there's green screen and stuff in Tony's lab, but it feels that there's a connection to the real universe. Thor Love and Thunder, not at all. You're in fantasy land for the whole movie, for the most part. And it's like, what am I watching? Where is, and the thing about the MCU that made it so great was it always had a tether to our world.
So it's what I always say, right? It's the balance of having the fantastical within the mundane, not the fantastical within the fantastical.
Yes, and it's getting to, I mean, all of the I mean, it's interesting because Thanos, if Thanos shows up in the middle of New York City, like we saw at the beginning of Infinity War with the Black Order, you're still in the middle of New York City. And when you have Ebony Moth throwing taxi cabs or whatever, and they're battling in the middle of an American city, you believe it. You're like, oh, there's a believability factor. The environment is something we all know. When you remove that and everything is fantastical, it sort of removes the tether that made the Marvel Cinematic Universe so cool, which is that you believe that what was happening in those movies, maybe it could happen in our world.
All right, what's next?
From Lore Howard. Do you think the foolishness about Ariana DeBose twits and canceling her Twitter will affect her getting new roles after the BAFTA business?
You know, I don't even know what's going on. I just saw, I have no idea what's going on with that. I just saw a headline of BAFTA producer defends Ariana DeBose. I have no idea what's going on. I have
Me neither.
It sounds stupid though, but I know nothing about it. I haven't actually read it. I just saw that one headline. I have no idea what's going on.
Isn't it because people didn't like her rapping?
Is that because I saw something about the producer defends her rapping? What was wrong with her rapping?
I don't know.
Like, was it really bad?
Was her lyrical flow not up to snuff?
Was there vomit on her sweater already?
It couldn't be any worse than Rob's rapping.
All right.
No, that was just really cute, Rob. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
All right. What's
Okay.
next?
From Terror. So where do we think Venom 3 will go? Toxin was hinted at the end of Venom 2, but he's not really a villain.
Yeah, I mean, Venom is never going to be a villain, right? Like, even Venom himself fancies himself. He wants to be a hero.
He's our lethal protector.
He's our lethal protector. Look, where does it go? I know, Rob and I were just talking about this. Like, do they try to create more connection between that and Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Would that indicate that Sony's Spider-Verse is going to start to connect in more with the MCU? Is it suggesting that Tom Holland is starting to segue? I mean, I just don't know. Again, I don't care. I said it before, I'll say it again. You could show me 90 minutes of just the two of them bantering back and forth, and I will be entertained. Throw in him killing and eating one or two bad guys, and I'm good. But right, as far as anything else, where does it go? Totally up in the air. All right, what's next?
From Spencer Smothers. My favorite Cocaine Bear advertising was during the Super Bowl when they had the bear sniffing up the white yard line marks on the football field. I can't wait to see this movie.
I did not see that. Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it on Twitter, though. I don't know if it was like actually televised, but I saw it on Twitter after. It was so good.
Oh my God, I gotta look that up because I've not seen that. That is brilliant marketing. Absolutely brilliant. All right, what's next?
From Devin Pankrakar. Why did the Star Wars movies come out in the order 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3? In change of the sequence, Yoda was.
In charge
of the sequence. Yep.
I get it. Ha ha ha. No drum shot for you on that one. No drum shot for you. All right, what's next?
From Dave XP. Felipe the Sentient Microphone has now officially more character development than the Wasp.
Kind of true.
Y'all are really
when I
selling
was
this
doing
movie
the first of all, thank you to everybody who joined us for the Ant-Man and the Wasp open Quantumania open spoiler discussion yesterday. Rob is going to be handling part 2 of that, so you can get a different perspective with his answers. But one of the things that came up was, in all dead seriousness, no hyperbole, the character with the most character development and the biggest story arc in Quantumania was MODOK. MODOK has the biggest story, has the biggest character journey than any other character, and that's not good. But yeah, Felipe has more character development than Wasp. Wasp had no character development in this. All right, what's next?
From Vixter 5001. Did you see A24 are auctioning off props and costumes from Everything Everywhere All at Once for charity? Raccoony could be yours.
I will never be able to afford it. Whatever it's going to go for, it's going to be a lot. But man, I would love to have that. That is one of my favorite movies. I'm going to have to see if I can get something, maybe a spoon or a sausage finger or something. I got to see if I can get something out of that because that's fantastic. All right, what's next?
From Mikhail Mahi. I love Satan as a villain. I love Satan as a villain too. The Constantine one is a good one.
It is good because it's Peter Stormare plays.
Yeah.
He was great.
Best Satan.
I love that little picture this came up too. Again, look, the really cool thing about that is whether you do, like, you turn the whole conceit on its ear and you do something like the show Lucifer, which he's not a bad guy.
Right. He's a fallen angel.
Or, so, I mean, there's a lot you can do there if you do it right. All right, what's next?
From Joe Star Gaming 661, I'm getting the PSVR 2 today and can't wait to play it. The eye tracking is amazing.
I remember back when I was still at Collider, I had this, now we're going back 6-7 years ago, right? And being told VR is the new big, VR headset, the new big thing. That's it. Today, it is now. It is the future is here. And I'm like, listen, I've bought a couple of VR headsets. I've got, what's the Facebook one called?
Oculus.
Yeah, I've had a couple of Oculuses. Hey, Beat Saber's fun. Played a little bit of the Star Wars Vader one.
That's cool.
They're kind of cool, but I quite frankly don't like wearing those things for much more than like 10 or 15 minutes. And I've been told now for nearly a decade that this is it. This is the new big thing. And look, at some point, maybe something will come out that will tip the scale, right? I just don't think, I have no interest in getting the VR stuff. I mean, I like looking at stuff on the screen and playing it that way. I don't know. Did any of you, like Ray, do you have any VR thing besides mine that you take?
No, but I do want to get that PS5 VR.
Are you crying?
What's going on over there? Did I interrupt something?
He's working on something really beautiful.
Oh, God. All right. What's next?
From Edward, how likely is it we'll see open spoiler discussions this year for non-comic book movies like Dune 2, Oppenheimer, etc.? Like when you did ones for Toy Story 4 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
It's not about genre movie. It's about size of movie, right? It's all about size of movie. So I can pretty much guarantee you we're going to do
Size that counts.
What's that?
It's the size that
It's the
counts.
size that counts, folks. It's not how you use it. So it's all about if it's going to be a big enough movie that enough people have seen it that it justifies us doing an open spoiler discussion. It's like the same reason we take into which shows will we do after shows for. Like there are shows that I love, like back in the day, like Supernatural, right? I loved it. People say, well, why don't you do a Supernatural after show? Because not enough people watch it to justify us taking the time to do an after show for it. So yeah, when a big significant movie like a Dune 2, by the way, I don't think Oppenheimer is going to be a huge blockbuster.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
The bomb goes off.
It's going to bomb. No,
Whoa.
I think that movie will do very well, but I don't think it's going to be a big enough movie that'll justify us doing a spoiler discussion for it. But yeah, whenever a significantly large movie like an Avatar or Dune 2 comes out, yeah, those are the ones we like to do open spoiler discussions for. All right, what's next?
From Jay, do you think a biopic of the WWE Attitude Era could be successful, ending with the takeover of WCW?
Anything can be successful if you write it right. That's where Felipe the sentient dancing microphone comes from. It's like this, like so many people used to ask the questions, could a movie of this work? Could a movie of that work? Here's the thing, a movie about anything. Lego, they made a movie about square plastic building blocks. You can't get more dumb than that. So you can make, and the movie ended up being great. I loved it. But you take any concept, if you write it well and you perform it well, anything can work. So sure, that could, or it may not. I mean, it all depends.
Yeah,
All
just send your scripts to Rob. He'll
Just
let you
send your
know.
scripts to Rob and he'll let you know if it's got box office potential.
Just send me the first 2 pages. That's all I need. I'll tell you. The first 2 pages.
First 2 pages. I'll tell you right away if it's good or not. All right, what's next?
From Collins E., the trades reported in October that Kelly Marcel would be directing Venom 3.
Oh, you know what?
Didn't
I thought
we
I
talk
remembered
about that?
hearing something about that. You know what? You're right. I think you're probably right about it. That's what happens when we get an off the top like that. It comes in the last second. You know what? I believe you are correct about that. Thank you for writing that in. All right, what's next?
From Amin, Mando Season 3, Episode 1 reported to be only 35 minutes. What the heck is up with Disney Plus episode lengths? Ugh.
Well, to be fair, those were always shorter episodes. I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of been their format.
But saying you've always done stupid things doesn't take away from
I know people like that.
It doesn't make it okay that you continue to do stupid things. Listen, I'm not gonna I love Mandalorian. I do. I hate the fact that they shortchange on Mandalorian so much. Like I feel like, especially once you start getting into watching Andor or watching Last of Us, where like you're settling in, these are supposed to be weekly event kind of things, right? And you settle in to watch, and I feel like you're just getting into the episode and it's bum, 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 as the credits start to roll, and you're like, what? Wait, that was it? I mean, it was good, but that was it. It's like, come on, guys, like reward your audience who have made this thing a hit by actually fleshing it out more. Like, put a little bit more story into it. Give us more development. There's a lot you can do. Now, look, I am not for filler, but I'm looking at Last of Us, and they seem to be able to put in a lot of stuff to make it meaningful. Put a little bit more effort into it and give the audience a little bit more payoff. It really does drive me crazy. It really does. Like, you wait all week. And Mandalorian for me, and this is by my choice, I know, but Mandalorian for me is a midnight viewing kind of thing. Like you stay up till midnight for the moment it drops and you watch it, and it's weekly event kind of stuff. So what's with this bullshit of 35-minute episodes? It's just inexcusable. There's no excuse for it. I really hope they change that. That is the one big glaring flaw of Mandalorian. Anyway, what's next?
Oh, hard no. Watch it in the morning. Have a good night snooze. Then watch it with your eggs. Oh my gosh, it's great. Gandalf the Wolf. How does box office count movies that are paid through Regal or AMC A-List, where the movie cost me nothing with my monthly membership?
So we've addressed this before a couple of times. So here's how this works. If you are an AMC A-List member, like I am, and you use it to go see a movie, you're not actually paying anything. Well, your monthly membership fee, but I go to 12 movies a month using my AMC A-List. How does that calculate for box office? Here's how it calculates. They take the national average ticket cost. So they look across the nation. They say, on average, like some places you'll pay $7 for a movie. Some places you're paying $20 for a movie ticket. So there's a national average. I believe right now the national average is about $10.50. Somebody can correct me on that. But the average movie ticket is somewhere in the United States, somewhere around $10.50. So what A-List or Regal or their loyalty programs, they calculate every time. What's that?
$9.17.
$9.17 is right now the national average. Okay. Remember, that takes into account matinees and all that kind of stuff as well. So what they do is they count me using my A-List going to see a movie as a $9.17 movie ticket purchase. And so when they're calculating what amount they have to pay out to the studios and the distributors, it's based on that. So if 100 of us go to see a movie with our A-List, that counts as $917 of box office. So that's how they calculate it. All right, great question though. All right, what's next?
From the Super Ranger Mud Truck. Hey, John and crew, do you think with all the chat GPT AI advancements going on right now, that in the near future, we'll get the whole movie scripts made with AI? Get whole movie scripts made with AI. I already had one written up about Knight Rider, and it was pretty spot on.
Send it to Rob.
Your my definition of pretty spot on might be very different from each other.
Yeah.
Because listen, chat GPT, I think that's what it's called. What it does is remarkable. It really is. But also be real about it. What it kind of is a distillation of what a Google search results is, right? It fundamentally does a Google search and then kind of puts it together in a certain way. And listen, yeah, what it can do is remarkable in terms of where technology is, but it ain't there. It just ain't there. Like I did a couple little tests with it to say, we're doing this where one person says this to another and it's pretty, again, for automated things, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But it ain't there. Now, maybe it could get there sometime down the future. But the thing about human interaction, human discussion, and human dialogue is just so nuanced and so whatever that I don't even think we're close yet. I don't think we're close.
I mean, I've always said that there's a difference between knowing how to read and being literate. Chat GPT can read. It's not literate. Yet.
Yeah. Good. I love the way you put that. All right. What's next?
From Godzilla 2000, movie scripts for Rob. Top Gun 3, Maverick versus Rodan.
Sold.
Don't pretend like we wouldn't all buy tickets to go see that movie.
Come on.
We would all go to see that movie.
It's my favorite kaiju movie, the original Rodan and Top Gun Maverick. Come on. You know what? He's looking for a reason to spare the fighter program. giant kaiju flying kaiju there. That's what you have to be an aerial ace to take them on.
Oh, I
There
will
it
go
is.
see it tomorrow. All right, what's next?
From Joey Bowie, 2023. It's Jonathan's world and we're all just living in it. Majors or Voitko, you ask? I'll leave you wondering. This JCS viewer proposes a toast to both. Oh, yay, Jonathan.
It's Jonathan Majors and Jonathan Boyko. It's their world. They always talk about it. I think they're on ChatGPT together, trying to come up
We're
with
the
some
real
scripts.
writers on that chat. I'm actually cranking away.
All right, what's next?
From Blackjack Hooligan. Hey, John, I have to say I'm super excited for summer. I'm going to go broke for all the new movies coming in June.
Dude, the new movie's coming in March. I mean, like we've been talking for a while. March is really going to be. And Jonathan, can you pull up our go to Box Office Mojo, pull up the release calendar? What's coming out in March? Because
March Madness.
March is really going to be, because even though the pandemic for the most part is in the rearview mirror, right? We've still been living in the effects of the pandemic. And we've been talking for a while that March is really going to be the first month that is that honest return to normal for the movie theater industry, where we're getting legitimate releases week after week after.
You're talking about
what's
March?
that?
March, you
Yeah.
said?
So what do we
Okay.
got in March here?
Children of the Corn, Creed 3.
What's that you said?
Children of the Corn, Creed 3.
We have Creed 3,
Yeah.
Shazam 2.
Shazam 2. We'll count Cocaine Bear since we're kind of halfway through February.
Scream 6.
Oh yeah.
Scream 6.
65
Yeah.
comes out next month.
What's that?
Same day as Scream 65, the Adam
Oh
Driver
yeah, the Adam
Dexter movie.
Sandler
Yeah.
stuff. That's all in 1 month. Like we haven't
Yeah.
had a month like that.
I mean,
know
it's
what?
limited, but that Inside movie with Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
really,
can't wait to see that. That trailer
That's
was
gonna be
great.
I think you guys said Shazam, John Wick Chapter 4,
Oh yeah, John Wick as well. We're just March,
and
and then we got June. It's
then it's more just smaller movies.
it's a very, very, listen, for us film fans, it's been a few years. It's been years.
Oh, 65. Sorry, that dinosaur.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Taylor
yeah.
mentioned. It has been years for us waiting to get back, I think, to this moment that the movie theaters and movie going is actually going to get back to what I think was 2018, 2019 normal. And we'll see how the theaters are able to respond. We'll see if people start getting back. I mean, we've already seen people starting to go back. You got Top Gun making 1.4 billion, Spider-Man, but I mean, now we'll see just a regular flow of all of us getting back to the movie. I just, as a film goer, I'm super excited about this. And to me, it kind of unofficially kicks off tomorrow with Cocaine Bear. All right, what's next?
From a Sith Lord. John, okay, I know you don't like Bad Batch, but season 2, episode 8 was terrifying. That old Sith Lord flipped, the script was badass. Do you think we will see him in season 2 of Andor?
How the fuck would I know? I don't watch that shit.
Oh.
John, I know you don't watch this show, but what did you think about the villain in the newest episode? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't watch that. So I don't. Has anybody in the room able to?
I just heard it was cool.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
never guess who's watching the Bad Batch. I'm liking it. There was a couple
Good. Then
weeks
you
ago-
can give some commentary on
Yeah,
this.
a couple weeks ago they had a mid-season two-parter, and I didn't know. And the first part, I just watched one episode because they've been doing it one episode a week, and I loved that episode. The Bad Batch wasn't in that episode, if that tells you anything. But it was so good. It focused on the Senate, really good. Then I came here the next day, and everyone was like, "Oh, what'd you think of the second episode? It was just as good." And I was like, "Shit, there was a second one."
So
that
you
night-
haven't seen? Have you seen the Sith Lord they're talking
I
about?
am one episode behind, which I believe is the one that we're referring to.
Oh,
But I
okay.
would say this season is a huge improvement over the first season.
I keep hearing that. I keep hearing good
Couldn't
things.
have been much worse. All right, what's next?
From Glenn Mark. Hi, Glenn. Hey, Chris. Just want to let you know I'm still alive. Good. Been busy with the podcast I'm writing. And yes, there will be voices. Yes. Glenn took my voiceover class. He has an amazing, amazing, incredible voice. He's from New Zealand and tunes in every day for the show, too. He's so wonderful. Congratulations on doing all that work and putting your voice and your excellent writing skills to good use, Glenn. And thank you for letting me know you're still with us.
And I think his second story got published too.
Oh, that's amazing. He's great.
All right, what's next?
From Darth Grant, if the MCU doesn't correct course soon, how long before Kevin's reputation starts taking a hit?
Here's the thing. An old boss of mine a long time ago would often gave me this analogy. He goes, when you start getting cred, I mean, it's putting coins in your pocket, right? And when something works, something's great, you get to put more coins in your pocket. As long as you got coins in your pocket, you're good. And every time something goes wrong, a few coins come out of your pocket. And if you've built up enough coins in your pocket, you can sustain a season of this, right? Let's be honest here. Kevin Feige has given us a decade plus of supreme excellence and success. To me, he has bought several years worth of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanias, in my opinion. So, like, I've already said, I kind of feel like the magic of the MCU is gone right now. It can come back. It can come back quickly. But as far as Kevin's reputation goes, to me, he's got 1 or 2 years worth of this that to me, that his reputation stays intact. So I like, again, a decade, 30 plus films of pure excellence, the biggest box office in the history of franchises that will never be topped. He's got some runway. He's still got some runway. I don't know, Rob, how would you respond to that?
I think you're right, but the thing is, people forget that these movies are making money.
Yeah,
You know,
not as much as they used to, but they are making money.
Look, Doctor Strange outgrossed the first Doctor Strange. Thor: Love and Thunder, I think I don't know, maybe it didn't outgross Ragnarok, but it's still making $700+ million.
Yep, made money.
Wakanda Forever made over $800 million. I mean, these are movies that they're wildly successful still. I think creatively, I think this multiverse thing was I know why they went in that direction. I think that direction untethered the MCU from the reality that people bought into. And I think that ultimately it's taking us into a direction that is less satisfying.
Yeah, listen, I said it before, I will say it again. And I knew it when we were at CinemaCon last year, and Kevin Feige came on stage, and it was the first time he proclaimed, this is the multiverse saga. And I remember in my best David Chappelle, oh no, thinking this is a bad decision. And I think it was a mistake. I think doing a multiverse saga was a mistake.
And
now, I may change my tune once we see
Sure.
Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Might totally change my tune.
Look, I felt that it was untethered when I saw Loki. As much as I enjoyed Loki, I thought they went way too far into Fantasyland realm, and they broke with our reality. It was too far, and they have not been able to pull it back.
All right, we got time for one more. What's next?
From Zach Marcello, finally saw All Quiet on the Western Front over the weekend. Holy smokes, what a sad but insanely great film. I can see why it did great at the BAFTAs.
There's something about, there's an element there that I would put in terms of Catherine Bigelow's Detroit, Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. There's something very special about a movie that partially breaks you. I know that sounds weird. I'm not quite sure how to define it better than that. But when you have a movie, because, like, first of all, I think Catherine Bigelow's Detroit was wildly overlooked. I don't know why we don't talk about that. I think that movie's actually maybe her best movie ever. I mean, all due respect to Hurt Locker and the other great stuff she's done, but when you get movies like that there's a part of you that emotionally breaks. It's, again, movies are experiential events, and that there can be a lot of different types of experiences, but those ones tend to linger with you a little bit longer. What to you made, because I know it was one of your favorite movies of the year, what to you made All Quiet like that special to you?
Well, because it was such, first of all, it was very transportive. I really, the verisimilitude of it all, it was just devastating. I mean, it really put you into the horrors of World War I, and you really understood what was being lost, and it was brutal. It was unflinching, uncompromising, and you actually saw different facets of the war. And I thought it was, especially for people that don't know much about World War I, it really hit hard, and it was unflinching, and it didn't back away. And anti-war stories or war stories at all, I'm a fan of, but this was quite a great example, and the filmmaking was amazing. So,
all right, guys, and that's all the time we have for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of our channel members who sent in questions for us to talk about. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about, and by being channel members, you support this channel every single day. So thank you so much for that. Hey guys, don't forget to, since you're here, click the subscribe button, click the thumbs up button down there, leave a comment down below. All this stuff helps out our channel and pushing our videos out to an even wider audience. Hope you guys will come back and join us for tomorrow's episode of the John Campea Show. And don't forget, if you guys watched our Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania open spoiler discussion, part 2 of that will be coming out a little bit later today. Also want to let you guys know that at 4 p.m. Los Angeles time today, that'll be 7 p.m. New York time, I'll be having an open mic Ask John Anything. So I hope you guys will come back and join me for that. So for everybody in the room, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Over there, of course, is Ray Ora, Jonathan Voico, Taylor Gonzalez, and of course, the wonderful Chris Carr. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye. Rob.
Oh my God.
It's perfect.
Dude.